Hello and welcome to the program which looks at the Holy Land. I am Paul Calvert. Psalm 71 verse 4 from the New King James Bible says this: Deliver me, O God, out of the hand of the wicked, out of the hand of the unrighteous and cruel man. I'm with Yehuda Bachana, director of Nativia, and also a reservist in the Israeli army, and we spoke about his time in the army.
I'm a reservist, and I was also called to serve during this war.
That must be very difficult on your family personally, is it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think in the beginning, I was serving in Gaza, and there we had no communication. No phones, no communication. So I had no idea what's happening with the family, and obviously the family. I have 3 children. My wife and children had no idea what's happening with me. And they knew I'm there, and they read the news of, soldiers that are falling or issues or problems within Gaza. And they had no idea what's happening with me. It was extremely difficult for my family. I think actually, if I stop to think about it, it was harder on my family, harder on my wife than on myself. I'll share with you my logic, because once I'm there, I'm with my friends, fellow soldiers, that we strengthen one another. We have jokes between ourselves. We have a purpose. We know what is happening. We have a schedule. But at home, they're displaced. I mean, my wife is alone, no support. She has no idea of what is happening. Obviously, the congregation is supporting, but essentially, one is alone with no idea what is happening. And I think that's so much harder.
So as someone who went into Gaza, what did you see in Gaza? How dangerous was it?
All right. I can say it's pretty dangerous, and I witnessed many miracles. It's an interesting question. Yeah. I'm not sure how to answer it correctly. I guess you'll have to be more specific with your...
Tell us about some of the miracles that you saw.
All right, some of the miracles that we saw. So I'll share with you one miracle. We went into this one house that had terrorists beforehand, and they just fled. They ran away. We were coming close as the army, as soldiers, and we found coffee and different cans of food and vests and weapons and grenades and everything. They just left and fled. And as we're collecting all the different items, waiting on the bomb squad to come and blow up that house, I was sitting on this 2-seater sofa. It's a red wall, a house with a red room, kind of strange, a blue sofa. The choice of colors was pretty unique. I remember I was looking at the different Kalashnikovs, the AK-47s. We were placing everything on the table as a showcase, so to speak, to take pictures through the GoPros and wait for the bomb squad to come. I was sitting on this sofa waiting for the bomb squad, and then somebody comes up to me, says, Yehuda, what is this cable going out from the sofa you're sitting on? So get up, and I see this black box under the sofa, and I kind of carefully take it out, and it's an explosive device. I'm literally sitting on an explosive device. So we evacuate the house, and I look at the cable. We all go look at the cable, where it's connected to, and what it looks like is a tank that accidentally, he was driving next to us. The infantry goes with the tanks, and the tank that was driving next to us, it ruptured the cable. So the cable was not connected to anything because the tank drove over it and disconnected it. Wow. So that's quite a story. I consider that a miracle.
Was this a civilian house that Hamas had taken over?
Yes.
Or was this a Hamas house?
No, it's a civilian house that Hamas takes over. I'm not sure how much, so to speak, there is civilian houses and how much headquarters. Through Gaza, we saw many, many houses that were used by Hamas, not as headquarters. Basically, it's people live there. It's people that, I guess, work for Hamas or something. There's a lot of... Almost every house that we went, there's pro-Hamas pamphlets or pictures on the wall or stuff like that, or flags. Many houses looks like normative house, even with a yard with animals, how do you call it, barn and stuff like that. There'd be tunnels underneath. The first tunnel we found, the first one we found was in such a house that, here's another miracle. Actually, the first day we went into Gaza, we searched the first houses. The first houses we searched, one of them was kind of a barn, like you have animals around, and we see a tunnel. And that's the first tunnel we found. So everybody obviously wants to come look to see how it looks like. And after that, the bomb squad came and said, hey guys, you were extremely lucky because it's booby-trapped, but it malfunctioned. Wow. It didn't blow up. I mean, we were all standing there to kind of figure out how a terror tunnel looks like so we know how to deal with it. So the next day, the order was, if you see a tunnel, you get away from it because they're booby-trapped. So the next day we found another one. And the second, the radio person grabbed the officer and pulled him back. As soon as he pulled him back, I mean, they saw it. Within a second, the radio person yanked the officer back. In that second, that tunnel exploded. Wow. The entrance of the tunnel exploded. It was booby-trapped. So it's another miracle. I have more of those kind of miracles that happened throughout Gaza.
So as someone who's been a reservist, would you say that the Palestinians, that Hamas were using their own people as human shields?
Definitely. As a sniper, I'm a sniper. So I saw with my own eyes, that a campus area of buildings was used for militants. I mean, we saw people with RPGs and guns, and on the roof walking around and in the balconies, we saw what appeared to be a 13-year-old kid. He was the watchman. So they were having kids looking around because they knew that we're not going to harm those kids. So I'm saying I'm a sniper, and we saw these kids. The kids were not armed, yes, I have to say that, but they were definitely look out for the combatants that were in that house. Later on, we got the combatants and not the child, so that's important to point out.
Was there plenty of food in Gaza? Because many people have been saying, there's famine.
I can't say anything about that because when we came in, all of the population evacuated because the army told people to evacuate. So I have no idea, and I can't say or testify that there was enough food or not. But by what I understand, again, it's my perspective. I can't say it for a fact. By my perspective, there was never a hunger problem in Gaza. Yes, maybe there was less food, maybe there were more issues or problems or less variety, but to say that there was actual hunger, I am not sure. I think if we go back to the way we started, I don't think there's hunger in Israel, and yet there are kids that don't have enough food. So I'm sure that the same situation happens everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if it's in America or in Europe. There are kids that don't have enough food, but it doesn't mean that there is hunger in that country, like in America or in Holland or in Germany or anywhere in the world, that kids might be hungry, and some families can't provide enough. Not necessarily there is what you would call hunger. So in my opinion, again, it's not a question that I can give you a fact, but in my opinion, there was no hunger in Gaza. I'm sure still there were hungry kids in certain families.
So someone who's been a reservist in Gaza, and then you come out, and then you see the world demonstrating all these pro-Palestinian demonstrations all around the world, and people calling it a genocide. How did that make you feel to see all these people responding the way they were when you've actually been there? You know firsthand what it's like being there.
Well, I think that, first of all, it's not the people's fault, because they think they are protesting for something good, for human rights, for life. And I am 100% for life. I am 100% for peace. I mean, every person in Israel wants peace. But, as much as I want peace, I want my family. I said I have 3 kids. I want them safe as well. And if there was a way to make peace and maintain safety for my family, I would go for it. Currently, I am not sure that it is possible. That being said, I don't think it's any person's fault. I think the media or the narrative is at fault, and I think there's a different issue altogether. So I don't think that it makes me feel sad or bad or angry or anything like that. I just understand that there's a misconception. Well, I was in Gaza. I served as a sniper, and I know there is no genocide. Okay, I know that. That's, for me, that's a fact. Since I'm a combat soldier and a sniper, and I know that we were not committing a genocide, that we targeted only combatants, and only if we could prove they had such kind of a weapon or an RPG or something like that, a weapon that would be used against Israel or the forces. So that, for me, my conscience is clean. Now, part of the issue is much deeper than what we think. And it goes all the way back to Avraham, to Abraham and Isaac, and the question of who is the chosen child, who is the favorite child. Is it Judaism? Is it Islam? And it's the same story also with Christianity. Who is the chosen nation? Is it Israel? Is it the church? Did the church replace Israel? Did Islam replace Judaism? Did Islam replace Christianity? So it's a religious, spiritual warfare. And I think that both Christianity and Islam, on different perspectives, have a spiritual question about the place where Israel or Judaism stands. So I think that is a deeper question.
When a soldier goes into Gaza, have you seen that they turn closer to God? Not necessarily to Yeshua, but to God in that sense?
I think that most people, yes. Well, it's hard to define exactly if they're turning closer to God, but it causes people, when you go into war, it causes you to think about death and what's beyond death and religion. So some people come closer to God, yes. Some people that, came from, I guess, somewhat observant houses suddenly started putting a kippah, a yarmulke on the head and start praying more, or, so to speak, come closer to religion or closer to God, gives them strength. Definitely me as a believer going into Gaza, having faith in God and Jesus and redemption, it made me feel safer and stronger. There's no doubt about it. So it causes people to think. Since we had no devices, no telephones, no screens, no nothing, we had a lot of time to sit and chat and talk. So I got to talk a lot about faith, about God, about what do I believe about Jesus. And I don't think that people came close to Jesus through talking to me, but I think that they got an idea of what I believe in and what does the New Testament mean and what is a Jewish believer in Yeshua, what's his story and what's behind his faith. So it's an opportunity.
How does the ministry help soldiers here in the ministry of Netivah?
All right, in Netivah, since the 7th of October, we started giving a lot of equipment, especially in the beginning. There were many soldiers that came from in a moment's call. Take me for example. I was here in the congregation. We were having Simchat Torah, a holiday. I was preaching, and as I'm preaching, my phone keeps going off. So then I finally answer it, and it was the army saying, get over here.
Is that actually on October the 7th?
Yes. It was Shabbat. It was on a holiday, and from the congregation, I basically went to the base. And like I did, so many others did. So we were even lacking the basics of, a towel and shampoo or toothpaste. We were lacking everything. So I called Daniel, who is the office manager, and I said, listen, so many soldiers have been called, and there's no basic, nothing, no towels, so get around the office and start getting these things. So what Daniel did immediately, he took the whole office and they went from store to store, from supermarket to supermarket, and kind of bought as many small towels, not the big ones, but the small towels and toiletries like deodorant and stuff, and started driving to bases to give to soldiers. That was the first step. That was October 8th on Sunday. Started handing out different items for the soldiers. And right after that, as we were starting to be dispatched to the different areas, for example, I went to Kfar Aza, Kfar Aza is a settlement, a Jewish settlement on the outskirts of Gaza, and that's where I was deployed. And as soon as all the soldiers were deployed, we found out there's missing a lot of equipment. For example, helmets, good quality helmets for everyone, and vests and ceramics, like a bulletproof vest and stuff like that. So I kind of told Daniel, now it's time to see what we can do about that. For example, getting drones and other equipment, like life-saving equipment. So we had a good church from Taiwan that donated some 300 in the beginning to 500 helmets. Wow. They shipped the helmets, and then several drones that saved lives. Literally, the drones saved lives. I can share with you a drone story, but the drones saved lives. So drones, and then bulletproof vests and different equipment that got to soldiers. Basically, we found out what the need was, and we made it happen. For example, many of the soldiers had a black jacket. Now, black jacket is not good because it has to be olive green. So when we were about to actually be dispatched into Gaza, on the night of that we were supposed to be dispatched to Gaza, they said you can't go with black jackets. And I called my wife, like on the night, said, listen, we people are going to go in the winter into Gaza with no jackets, not enough jackets. So she got some manager of a store to open, Colombia, I think, or something, to open 10 o'clock at night, the warehouse, and she brought like 300 jackets for the soldiers that went in that, how do you say it, that peima, that night into Gaza. And then she got more jackets for other soldiers for the next nights that went in different units, different places. So things like that, like what the soldiers needed. So we found out what the soldiers need, the actual need, and we just went ahead and got it. And I have to say that we were able to do that because so many people and so many good God-fearing Christians from around the world opened their hearts, enabled Nativia to do that. So the donations just came in at the right time, and we were able to purchase very expensive but life-saving equipment, from drones, helmets, bulletproof vests, and many other equipments.
So on October the 7th, were you deployed to Kfar Aza, and were you fighting terrorists that day?
Yes. I wasn't deployed on the 7th, but the day after. On the 8th already we went into Kfar Aza, and still there were a few terrorists there in Kfar Aza, yes.
So this is actually within Israel itself, and what were they doing in Kfar Aza, the terrorists?
Well, as I must say that once we already got there, the fighting has stopped. We came a day after, so there was no more fighting. There were still terrorists hiding. Basically, everything was done, and I'm sorry to say, we did not find any survivors. We found terrorists that were still hiding, that crossed the border, and the fighting stopped, but they found places to hide, and as they had no way of there's nowhere you can run to because the army already covered the place.
That must have been quite emotional, finding dead bodies. Were you finding dead bodies as you went along?
Yes, we went house to house, from house to house, searching houses, looking everywhere, hoping, as I said, to find survivors. We found no one, but we found many, many bodies. It was extremely shocking. It was very heavy. I can't say I've ever imagined such a scene or being in a place like that. How do I even explain? Or you can't explain. It's a butchery. It's really I think it's the hardest scene or hardest experience, the heaviest I've ever experienced. I can't even start to. I don't think I have the words to explain the atrocities that we've seen. I think the worst house that we saw is a house of 7 bodies in the same house. We just have to walk over it, not step on any, because we have to search the houses, both for survivors but also for terrorists. As I said, they were still there hiding, and we had to smoke them out.
Does that affect you today, the fact of what you've seen?
I'd like to think that not. I presume that everything affects us to a point. I mean, you read a book and it affects you. It doesn't matter. You sit in your, relax, watch a series on Netflix and it affects you. Everything affects us. You have a conversation with somebody, it affects you. So it affected me. Can I say that it affected me in the long terms and a PTSD possibility? I'd like to think that not, that it didn't. I think that the fact that I'm a believer gives me a lot of strength and a lot of spiritual strength that holds me together. Gives me, I have a lot of tikva. How do I say tikva in English? Tikva is hope. I have hope.
Thank you for joining us today. Pray that God will move by his mighty power in the Holy Land and bring his peace.